This week on ANN, the Executive Committee of the Global Adventist Church votes to delay GC session a second time.
The Adventist Church in North America responds after violent demonstrations in the U.S. Capitol.
And President of the Global Adventist Church will interview Ellie Andre and his daughter Irma this weekend on Revival for Mission. We have a preview.
And these stories and more are coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, for the second time in 10 months, members of the Executive Committee of the Global Seventh-day Adventist Church have voted to postpone the quinquennial session of the denomination, originally scheduled for late June of 2020, due to challenges arising from the COVID-19 pandemic.
Members of the Executive Committee, or XCOM, from around the world attended the January 12th virtual Zoom session, where they listened to reports from World Church Administration, health officers of the church, logistics coordinators, and legal counsel.
Leaders discussed the feasibility of adhering to the planned business session dates of May 20 to 25th, 2021 in Indianapolis, Indiana, United States, that had been previously approved by the same body.
The persistence of the deadly global COVID-19 pandemic and its enduring impacts on public health, travel, and the availability of international visas persuaded the international body to postpone the session until June 6 to 11 of 2022, also in Indianapolis.
The new plan, voted by church leaders and laypersons, now postpones the date for the denomination's quinquennial business session for nearly 2 years from its originally scheduled dates, as allowed by the Adventist Church's Constitution.
General Conference, or GC President Ted N.C. Wilson, who chaired the XCOM committee, began the 2-hour meeting by outlining the process of data collection and discussion that brought the recommendations to the governing body of the church. A team of workers have been working diligently. We have been carefully reviewing things, especially with those in session management and planning.
Wilson added that recommendations are coming from a consensus approach from various groups, including World Division officers, health professionals, Adventist Risk Management, the Office of General Counsel, and other Adventist church leaders. He said, "This is not a recommendation directly coming from the 3 senior officers of the GC. This is something that has come from a plethora of information and counselors."
Peter Landless, Director of Health Ministries for the Global Adventist Church, shared current COVID-19 statistics and concerns of moving forward with such a large gathering. Given the rising infection numbers, along with the new, more infectious and aggressive strain, Landless said that the Health Ministries Department had to recommend delaying the GC session.
Landless said, "We've been consulting with international experts and taking into account the needs and concerns. The GC Health Ministries Department believes it is prudent and practical stewardship to postpone the GC session to 2022, given this difficult time. And it is with a heavy heart one makes this recommendation. However, it is a recommendation that comes because it appears there is no alternative."
GC meeting planner Sherry Clemmer outlined some of the current challenges to a large meeting of delegates from around the world. She mentioned visitor visa difficulties and quarantine requirements, especially for those who use public transportation and transportation hubs. She also outlined standard COVID protocols surrounding mass gatherings in Indianapolis.
G.T. Ung, Executive Secretary of the Global Adventist Church, reported data collected from the division leadership about the likelihood of delegates being able to attend the May 2021 GC session. Major challenges to achieving a large portion of delegates that were expressed by division leadership included travel bans, quarantine restrictions, and problems obtaining visas to the United States. The General Conference Constitution does not currently allow for electronic participation at a General Conference session.
Tim Northrup, President of Adventist Risk Management, outlined various liability risks that could follow if XCOM voted to not delay the 2021 session.
Northrup said, "We have an important meeting for our church. What we have heard is that there are potential exposures and potential risks," Northrup said. "We have also heard our Constitution allows us to weigh those risks and to consider moving the meeting to a later date. This business continuity plan we have as leaders is important. It allows us to be more nimble and allows us to continue the ministry of our church.
Following the presentations and discussion, the recommendation to move the dates of the General Conference to June of 2022 was put to vote by electronic polling. The motion passed with a vote of 185 to 9.
The Adventist Church in North America issued a statement after a protest regarding the recent election results for the President of the United States turned violent. Rioters broke into the U.S. Capitol. 5 people are dead and numerous arrests have been made. The North American Division leadership said the following in their statement. The events in Washington, D.C. during the past few days have been traumatic for most Americans and shocking for those around the world. Many of our members are deeply concerned regarding the actions that took place at the United States Capitol building on January 6, 2021. The leadership of the North American Division affirms the rights of people to respectfully protest, but strongly condemns the reprehensible actions of rioters that show a clear disrespect for the safety of others, the institution of democracy, and the diplomatic and orderly process of the transition of government. NAD leadership calls for our members to prayerfully reflect on Philippians 4:7, which states, "And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus." As we all seek to understand events taking place in the U.S., in times like these, we need to pray with the words, "In God is my salvation and my glory. The rock of my strength and my refuge is in God." We recognize that our U.S. members represent a full spectrum of viewpoints and positions on many issues. Moving forward, may the love of God draw us together as we reach out to each other and the communities where we live and work. May God grant us all peace, strength, and wisdom as we serve as citizens in this country. As followers of Christ, let us unite in prayer for our communities, our leaders, and that God's Spirit will prevail. For more information, visit nadadventist.org.
President of the Adventist Church in Inter-America, Ellie Untitled, and his wife, Ketley, and their daughter, Irma, who worked as the head of the physical therapy department at the Haiti Adventist Hospital, were in Haiti over the holidays visiting Ketley's elderly mother. On Christmas Eve, Untitled and Irma attended a special function at the Adventist Hospital. On their way back to the home where Mrs. Untitled and her mother were staying, they were kidnapped and held in captivity for 4 days. As word quickly spread of the abduction, millions of people around the world lifted the Untitled family up in prayer. This weekend on Hope Channel television program Revival for Mission, the Untitled family shared their experience with President of the Global Adventist Church, Ted Wilson and Sam Neves, and talk about how God was with them through their ordeal.
It was a real surprise for us when we got into that situation. We did not know what to think because it was totally unexpected. And when we get to the place you described very well, it was the moment when we look at each other and saying what is happening? What is happening? We cannot understand that could happen to us, and especially when you come from a service, special service, a beautiful one. When we were in a very good mood, spiritually speaking, not only because we were together, but it was very much a good time, and we are there. So the first question someone may say, and in fact, one of the raptors says that because we mentioned that we are Christian, and it was saying, "Why are you there?" And we look at each other, and Pastor Wilson, the first thing that came to us, Irma and I, was a song.
I guess you're going to have to watch the full program to find out what song that is. The program airs this Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time and will be available beginning this Friday on the program's website, Revival for Mission. TV.
On December 28th, the Sisak Moslavina County in central Croatia was rocked by a 5.2 magnitude earthquake. The following day, another earthquake measuring 6.4 magnitude struck the town of Prchinjia. This earthquake was strong enough to be felt throughout Croatia and neighboring countries.
According to news reports, there were 7 casualties, 26 people injured, and more than 60,000 people affected.
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency, or ADRA, began a needs assessment on January 2nd in 9 villages in the Glina County, where ADRA already serves.
Slavica Marceta, country director for ADRA Croatia, said that many people were in need of roof repairs, shelter, food, non-food items, and clean water.
Marceta added that there has been low to no signal using a mobile phone, posing a challenge communicating with volunteers in the field. She also shared that security is a high priority as there have been reports of theft.
ADRA volunteers have been dispatched to distribute 200 hot meals to vulnerable areas, thanks to a local caterer and authorities the team partnered with.
Marceta said, "We are preparing to expand a call center to continue keeping up with developments and urgent needs of the affected population who are under our care. Our highest priority is to ensure that individuals and families can receive help to apply for government assistance."
Coming up, we'll speak with Sam Neves, Associate Director of Communications for the Global Adventist Church, about a new game that's being released soon.
We'll be right back after the break.
Why is there evil in the world? Are Christians hypocrites? Is the Bible a fairy tale? Does Jesus love everyone? Church doesn't feel relevant to my life. Is God even real? You have questions? Let's talk about it. I Believe Bible.
Welcome back. Did you know that there are more than 2.4 billion gamers in the world? That's about 32% of the world's population.
And if we're meant to go where people are, that means we had to get involved in games. And we did. Heroes 2 comes out in just a few weeks.
We sat down with Sam Neves, Associate Director of Communications for the Global Adventist Church, to find out more about Heroes 2 and how you can be involved.
Hi, Sam. Thank you so much for being with us on A&M Video. You're normally joining us on A&M In Depth, but now you've crossed over with me to A&M Video, so thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
And last week on A&M In Depth, we actually brought up the fact that there were 2.4 billion gamers in the world. 2.4 billion, which is about 34% of the world's population. Is that why you decided to start Heroes, the game? We're going to talk more about what Heroes is, but is that why you decided to start it, and why we decided to get into games as a church?
I didn't even have the statistics at the time on how many gamers there were, but I did notice that everybody was on their phone, and most of what they were doing is playing games. So the natural reaction was, okay, then this is what we need to do. We need to create a game, because wherever people are interacting with, wherever they are, the gospel message needs to be. You know, this is the incarnational principle. Jesus came to where we were. He reaches us where we are. And when we say that we found Jesus, what really happened is that he found you where you were. And so games are, if that's what people are doing, then that's what we need to do. So the first Heroes came out a few years ago, about 8 years ago. When it comes to the second version, we did a research about 3 years ago on the number of people searching for the Bible-related questions. And as it turns out, 250,000 people every month search for Bible game, Bible trivia, or Bible quiz. And we thought, hold on a minute, we can build the absolute best Bible trivia game. Heroes, let's resurrect it, let's make it 3D. And we've been working for over 2 years on creating a game that can become the best experience in Bible trivia. Why? Because people are searching for it. So let's give them the best experience possible.
That's awesome. My question is, can you tell people a little bit what Heroes is? And then I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite part about Heroes? Like, what is it, the game? Is it that you learn something? Is it the community? What is your favorite part of Heroes?
Okay, so let me show you. It's easier to show than to tell. Let me find it here. There you go. Share. Let's see. Can you see this? Yes,
no.
you can.
I can't. Oh, there it is. Yep,
there it
we
is.
see it.
Okay, so Heroes is this comic style heroes of the Bible, and let's go in and see some of them because the style matters. You would have noticed that for the last few years, people have obsessed over heroes. So let's go to Joseph, for example. Joseph the Dreamer. Spoiled as a child, Joseph was sold as a slave before ruling the country. And you can see this is Joseph. Now, it's unlikely that Joseph had a six-pack and he was so strong and so on. Or maybe it was exactly the description of Joseph. Who knows? It doesn't matter, the visuals in this sense, because this is a depiction of his character through visual imagery. That's a modern style of comics. And you can see there are always details in these heroes. So if you notice this on his arms, on his wrists, that's the mark of slavery. Because he was a slave for many years, and then he went to prison and so on. So this is Joseph, and the game contains an in-depth look, if you will, into his life. Why does Joseph matters? Why does his story matter? And so every story of these heroes is divided into 8 parts. And when we have the time and the funds, we'll create nice imagery for each of these parts. But you can see each step of his story and what happened to him. You can find out more about the story of Joseph by reading these chapters. And here are the people and the relationships that Joseph has with others. So this is, entering the world of heroes. And you can see there are other heroes here. You have Ruth, you have Esther, you have Mary Magdalene, you have John and Adam and Eve. So Adam and Eve are here. This is the forerunners, our forefathers and so on. Now, what is the game like? Do you play around with these 3D characters throughout the world? No, it's a trivia game. So you get 12 questions. That's a game session. Each of these dots is a question. You get 12 questions, and they go from easy to hard to impossible. And as you answer those questions, you have some effects to help you. So here's the Daniel effect that reveals the Bible verse where the correct answer is found. You also have the Elijah effect that gives you a double portion of XP. XP is experience points, one of the currencies in the game. You can't use any money in the game, so rich people cannot progress faster. You have to answer the questions. And then also the Friday effect that gives you double mana, just like the people of Israel. And what is mana? What do you need mana for? Mana is how you buy effect, these power-ups that help you answer. The Jonah effect allows you to skip a question like Jonah tried to skip the mission. The Joshua effect freezes time for 5 seconds, just as the sun stopped for Joshua. The Jesus effect removes your errors and it shows you the way. And my favorite, the Lazarus effect, that gives you a second chance if you get an answer wrong. So if you get an answer wrong, you're resurrected to try again. So this is the world of heroes. People can join the beta team to test it out before the launch on the 28th of January. But you can also sign up here beforehand. And this is a Hope Channel release as well. So it's published by Hope Channel all around the world in multiple languages. And that's an overview of the game, Jennifer. You asked what my favorite part was. I don't know. What's my favorite part of Heroes? I think it's the challenges, because I can play my game and I can send you a challenge. And then you get to answer the same 12 questions. And whoever answered them faster wins that particular challenge. That's awesome. That's probably my favorite part.
And eventually, from what I understand, Hope Channel 2 will be producing Bible studies to go along with Heroes. So this isn't just a game. We're also going to be producing Bible studies where people can learn to study the Bible based on these heroes as well. So I think that's such a cool mission opportunity. Sam, we are so excited because Heroes the game is being released later this month. Can you tell people where they can go to download it and what day it will be released?
Yes, January 28th, it will be available on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. You can pre-download it now. So if you go to the website, which is heroesbibletrivia.org,
That's great. So January 28th, please make sure that you will go download the game and play and challenge your friends. If you want to learn even more about heroes, you can go to the website that Sam mentioned. And also, Annan in Depth last week was about gaming, and we talked a lot about heroes and the history behind heroes, and we talked to two awesome young people who work on your team, Sam. So please make sure you go to the Adventist Church's YouTube channel and check out our Annan in Depth episode on gaming. Thank you. Oh, here's the website, heroesbibletrivia.org. Thank you so much, Sam, for being with us this week on Annan. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Coming up, David Trim is here for This Week in Adventist History.
But up next, Adventist Mission shares the story of 1 year in mission volunteers in Ecuador. When global mission pioneer couple Christian and Maribel moved into their community, they found no Adventists living there.
But they found a unique way to get to know their neighbors.
Adventist Mission has more.
These dogs and their owners are thrilled that these 1 year in mission volunteers have become a part of their community. The young volunteers came to Ecuador's capital city, Quito, to share the love of Jesus. And surprisingly, this includes taking care of dogs. The story begins when a global mission pioneer couple, Christian and Maribel, moved into this community and found no Adventists living here.
We wanted to reach a group of professional people who, for various reasons, have not included the church in their hearts and lives.
In this upper middle-class neighborhood, people seem to have everything they need, like nice houses and cars.
The challenges in this place are that people don't open their hearts easily. First, we wanted them to open the doors to their homes.
Christian and Maribel started by finding out what the people truly needed. Since this was a large community, they recruited a team of 1 year in mission volunteers to help them. Here's what the team discovered. Community members really needed help taking care of their pet dogs.
There were quite a few people who wanted their dogs to be walked, and the 1 year in mission team helped with this. They helped by walking the dogs, caring for them, and they even held a health fair for pets.
By taking care of the dogs, the team got to know the owners.
Our objective is to reach people with a relationship by making friends, visiting them, and going to the park with them.
Because of these new friendships, community members started scheduling Bible studies when planning walks for their dogs. Over time, several people gave their hearts to Jesus.
I feel happy when someone accepts Jesus. It's gratifying to know that they know and believe in a God of hope and love.
Now, because of walking dogs and building relationships, a new congregation of believers meets each Sabbath and is still growing. Please pray for this group as they share the love of Jesus in this large city. Pray for global mission pioneers like Christian and Maribel, as well as the 1 year in mission team. God is using them to change lives here in Ecuador.
Watch this and other mission stories online by visiting AdventistMission.org, then click on videos at the top.
And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history.
This week, the first local Seventh-day Adventist church was organized in Australia.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On January 10 in 1886, the first Seventh-day Adventist church in the Southern Hemisphere was organized in Melbourne, which was then Australia's largest city. The first Adventist missionaries had only arrived in Australia some 6 months earlier, and then the first evangelistic sermon on the continent was preached on July 11, 1885, by this man, John Corliss. From October 25, Corliss preached every night in a big tent in one of Melbourne's northern suburbs. 55 people were baptized as a result, and within 5 years, this church had grown almost fourfold to more than 200 members. On January 11, 1881, the second Seventh-day Adventist congregation in the U.S. state of New Jersey was organized in the city of Camden thanks to the ministry of this evangelist, Isaac Sanborn. New Jersey had not been part of any of the state conferences into which the church was organized in North America, but Sanborn's success in raising up this new company in Camden led to a formal action at the following year's General Conference session that New Jersey would become part of the New England Conference. And the state continued under the New England Conference until a growing number of local churches led to the organization of a separate New Jersey Conference at the 1901 General Conference session. Also on January 11, but 63 years later in 1944, a major Adventist institution was founded in South America. In 1925, what was then called Brazil Adventist College began processing grape juice to serve its students. In 1935, Adolfo Bergold, manager of the college farm, greatly increased production, selling the grape juice to boost the college finances. And from 1940, many other food products were developed, manufactured, and sold. The result was the incorporation in 1944 of the Brazil food factory, Produtos Alimenticios Superbom. Today, Superbom, as it's known, continues to successfully produce and sell foods that are wholesome and, as I can confirm, delicious, and that reflect Adventist health principles. That was this week in Seventh-day Adventist history.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Did you know the Adventist Church has a YouTube channel where you can watch ANN video, ANN in-depth, and plenty other amazing videos on prophecy, health, and Bible study?
Just go to YouTube and search for the Adventist Church. Make sure you click on the subscribe button to make sure that you're caught up each week.
And remember, leave a comment or a prayer request. We have people who are praying for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news from the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 33 and 34.
And the passage says, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own."
Amen. Well, that's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit Adventist.news for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.